Welcome back to another episode of Uncorked, the Welsh Wine Podcast. This is the only podcast focused on the Welsh wine industry.
Focusing on the people and the stories behind the bottles, all while drinking a bottle of Welsh wine.
I'm Jamie.
I'm Sarah.
And I'm Angela.
Today we're focusing on one particular vineyard, and that is St Hilary's, in St Hilary's.
In St Hilary's.
Which is in the Vale of Glamorgan.
Indeed, near Cowbridge.
Near Cowbridge.
We are going to very much focus on the story behind the guys that run it and own it. We're going to taste some of their wine.
Yep, we've got a lovely rosé of theirs that we're going to taste.
And we've also got some cheese.
Yes. So we're going to do a bit of cheese and wine pairing.
Yes, we do like a bit of cheese, don't we?
And I'm going to take you down a bit of a rabbit hole as well with some kind of random...
And I'm totally in the dark on this one as well. So sometimes we have a bit of a little discussion beforehand. But
Sarah knows a little bit of it.
She does,
I ran it. I sense checked it.
But
I was going to say, rabbit hole. But you guys went to St Hilary's recently, didn't you?
We did.
You had a lovely tour with Liz and Pete.
Another lovely road trip.
And a special guest.
And a special guest. Who was the special guest?
Yes. So,
Bryn.
Yes.
Oh, who's Bryn?
We took Bryn the dog.
Oh, Bryn the dog, of course.
Yeah,
The Labradoodle.
And anyone who's following us on Instagram will have seen how adorable he is.
Main character energy.
Very much.
Big main character
and
energy.
He's huge. And he's just over a year old, I think. And he's my friend's dog. And I had him for the weekend that clashed with the tasting at St Hilary's. So I messaged them and said, can I bring this enormous puppy with me as well, please? And she's like, yes, of course. Yeah, keep him on a lead. And we did keep him on a lead just.
Well, he was on the lead, but I'm not entirely sure at times who was pulling whom.
Right, yeah.
Because I was having flashbacks to when I was a kid with a dog that was a similar size to Bryn, who took me for a walk and broke my wrist.
Oh, no.
Wow. But I'm a bit more wise to the ways of the world now, and so that didn't...
Well, he enjoyed. So we did a little tour of the vineyard, and which was fantastic, and we'll tell you a bit more about.
I'm gutted I missed it, to be honest. So I'm going to live vicariously through you guys.
You would have loved it.
You would have, yeah. It was so nice, and it was a beautiful day, and everything was good. And the problem is that Bryn has a fairly short attention span, which, to be fair, so do I.
Kind of like me,
Guilty as charged.
So I took a special ball with me for him that he really likes, one of his favourites, and to try and keep him occupied. And I'd hidden it from him for the whole weekend, and then presented it to him as we got to the vineyard, and he was over the moon.
Yeah.
But there was only so much tune of the ball, and then he would start barking, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
It was,
okay.
Or he'd get distracted and leave the ball somewhere.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, where's his ball? So you have to traipse all the way back halfway across the field to where he just dropped the ball.
Yeah. It added another challenge to the
really
whole
sweet,
process. But
you enjoyed yourselves?
We very
absolutely.
much did. We very much did.
And Liz and Pete are fantastic hosts.
And so you managed to get an interview with Liz.
I did.
How did that go?
It went really well, and Liz has a fab story, and Pete, and they're doing amazing things there. We really genuinely learned a lot. The issue was...
go on.
Yeah, so as we explained at the beginning of this podcast... we've done this thing from scratch.
Yeah.
We've got the kit. We've learned how to do it. We've learned how to edit. We've learned to do all sorts of things. Not that we don't edit anything. Obviously, everything is perfect.
No, we don't edit anything. You're right.
Yes, we don't.
We don't edit anything.
Yeah.
Thanks, Steve.
So I took this very snazzy bit of kit down with us to interview Liz. I did take about 16 different types of backup thing in case it didn't work. It did work. The only problem was there was a user error.
Yeah, don't blame the tool.
Yeah,
blame the fool.
So I'll paint a picture for you.
Okay, go on.
Angela's got a sort of 16-stone dog dragging her around the vineyard.
Right, so twice the size of her.
Yeah, she's kindly said, Jamie, you do the interview and I'll take Bryn. I was like, oh, thank God, because he'd been dragging me around for a few hours. And I can see Angela sort of like some sort of comedy in the background.
Just flailing around.
Flailing around with the dog.
Dragged around. Every time you look up, it's like a different different emergency situation. Yeah.
There's a bit of a wind up, which didn't really help much with the kit. And then I tried to interview Liz, and basically then we decided the best place to do it would be in my car. So I put Liz in the passenger
not weird
seat.
At all.
No,
with the windward side doors closed and the leeward side doors open for some fresh air.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. but just enough so you didn't hear the wind on the recording. So Liz is looking at us a bit strange at this point, but goes along like a good sport. And then I could hear the odd bark now and again.
Me going,
Quick welfare check on Angela.
I didn't run out of treats, so it was fine.
So we got down to business. But the problem was then is I'm not very good at using this machine.
Right.
And therefore you can't really hear me very well, which is probably good for people.
Of the two voices there, you did do a good job of capturing hers.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
you know.
Do you know what? That's fine. I thought you were going to say that you didn't press record or something. And that after all of
I
that...
also did that. But again, Liz gave us a cracking answer to a question, and then I just didn't see the red light, and my head sank, and I just thought, oh god. So I said to Liz, really sorry, Liz, can we just do that one again? So once we got through all of those challenges, it was nice though. It was because I only picked up my car. It was a brand new car a couple of days before. So it was nice to just chill out in the car, do an interview as you
show off a little bit.
Show off, new car smell. It was great. Yeah. So we got through it, and Liz's story, as I'm sure you'll agree, was really, really interesting. And I guess for me, from the outset, we've said with this podcast, haven't we, that we wanted to explore the stories behind the bottles and how these mad people decide to do what they're doing. And Liz did not disappoint.
Was that your first question?
Yeah.
Because I know that you just like the idea of being able to just leave your job potentially and just start a vineyard. So
exactly.
You always ask people, you're like, but how do you go about it?
Yeah.
Like, what was the
Exactly
reason?
that,
Just
yeah.
hoping that someone's going to map out your life entirely.
Exactly. Yeah. And just to caveat that, if my employer's listening, I love my job.
Of course.
And I want to, I do not want to leave, obviously.
Unless there's a vineyard involved.
Unless there's a vineyard, yeah. Unless I end up in some sort of rom-com and I get offered a vineyard in the south of France, or, and I get taken off.
Guys, I'm absolutely gutted that I wasn't able to make it. So just, can you paint a picture for me? What was it like? Tell me everything.
Well, St Hilary's is just, it's very twee, and it's just, there is thatch. There's plenty of thatch there.
I think as we drive into the village and see the sign that says St Hilary's, and then you come into this quaint old village. And I think we both went, "Aw."
Yeah, we did. And there's a lovely, really classic old pub there.
Oh yeah,
the Bush Inn, which I think that is thatched, wasn't it, from memory?
Yes.
Yeah, it was thatched. And we were told that the landlords are now moving on.
Okay.
But it's clearly a big fixture of the village, isn't it? And they also sell St Hilary's wine in there as well.
Oh, that's great.
Which is cool. So yeah, we loved it, didn't we?
Yeah, it was great. It was a shame we couldn't go into the pub, and I think they were doing their last Sunday roasts that weekend or that day, I guess, because we were there on a Sunday. But yeah, that pub, it's like any old building. There's lots of different parts to it, but parts of it go back to the Middle Ages. So it's it's an ancient village, and there's an old parish church and stuff. It is really cool. But one of the things about that pub is there's a local legend tied to it.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah.
Right, strap in, Jamie.
Okay. And so I've also done the thing that it's folklore. It's a local legend. It doesn't matter if it's true or not.
Okay.
It's a good story, and I stand by that. I 100% stand by that. And stories have to be invented at some point, and that's fine. I have no problem with that. But because of the type of historian I am, I'm I wonder if we can find any truth to this. This legend of a famous highwayman, and there's no dates given for this because it's a legend, right? So this famous highwayman called Yanto Franks. But the thing about Yanto is apparently he wasn't actually a highwayman. He was just a local bumbling petty thief. Okay. And he also would sheal sheep and stuff like that, which is not petty theft. Back in the day you could be hanged for that. But this was a time and a place where a highway robbery was a thing. So he would take credit for crimes that he hadn't committed, and everyone knew he wasn't capable of committing these crimes because it's Yanto. I mean, Yanto, come on, Yanto. No, everybody knows you're not going to do that. And the story goes that he'd sit in the pub in the Bush Inn in St Hilary's and tell these stories.
Okay.
And then one day he was caught stealing a sheep.
Naughty Yanto.
Which was a serious offence. So he was taken into custody. And as the story goes, he was taken into custody and put in the jail in Cowbridge. And then it was brought before the magistrates. So that would be the quarter sessions. And this is where I was that didn't happen. Because, that could have happened. But So he was tried for stealing a sheep, and then the magistrates asked for character witnesses, saying, well, what do people have to say about this? And then locals came up and gave, their accounts of the stories that he was telling. And so he was then condemned for highway robbery that he didn't commit, because the magistrate thought, it's like, well, I can get rid of this person who's a bane to our existence. And sentence him to death. And the issue with that is that quarter sessions.
To death?
To death, which wouldn't happen.
For stealing a sheep?
Well, you could have, yes, for stealing a sheep, absolutely. Stealing a sheep, you could have been sentenced to death, but not by a magistrate.
Oh.
Just like magistrates' courts today don't hand out anything longer than a 1-year prison term. That wouldn't have happened.
Right.
But the rumor is he was sentenced to death, and he was hanged on Stalling Down, which is the common that's just across the road from St Hilary's vineyard in the village, which is also the site of the Battle of Stalling Down, which is Owen Glendower and Henry IV, which may or may not have even happened in the first place. So there's a lot of may or may not have even happened.
But if it did happen,
that's Stalling Down, and it's right across the street from St Hilary's. Now, yeah, there's holes in this story, but it's folklore, so it's absolutely fine. So he was hanged there, and the community came out to see him. But I think there's something interesting that may be happening here with this story, and this is where some historical evidence and a whole bunch of speculation comes in. Now, I have to say, most of the stories that I've been able to find about Ianto Frank, they're told by one particular local historian who leads a lot of history walks through the Vale of Glamorgan. His name is Graham Lovelock Edwards. And I messaged him because I wasn't able to find much about this story. It's a great name, isn't it? And he got back to me and said it's been a while, but he thought it may be from a particular folklore collection, or this he thought he may have found it in this one book, or a series of books by a historian. I wasn't able to get my hands on it because 2 days ago. But I actually was able to find an old newspaper article relating to the legend of Ianto Franks from the late 19th century, giving no dates. It's just a thing.
It's looking back at...
it's just like a little, I think it's called Welsh Tidbits, and it's just here's some stories from the Vale of Glamorgan. But at least from the late 19th century, there is evidence of this story. There's also a little path on a road, a narrow little lane that runs from St Hilary's to New Beaupre, and there's a cave there called Ianto Frank's Cave. Because this story goes, so in between him being convicted and being hanged, he developed this supernatural strength and actually leapt out of the courtroom and ran away really, really quickly, dodging past the bailiffs and got out of court. And he ran to St Hilary's, apparently via the pub. And if you look at a map, geographically, this doesn't make sense. He ran from Cowbridge to St Hilary's, ran through the pub, and then went and hid in this cave. And that's very much the long way around.
Right,
that's why the cave's called
Ianto Frank's Cave. And so he hid in the cave for 3 days and then was found and was hanged. The rumor is he now haunts the Bush Inn. He's one of the ghosts.
Really?
Yeah. So taking some of the details that are there, I think I have a hypothesis about the real sort of thing that might have happened here. So the Court of Great Sessions, which was like the assizes in Wales, they were the ones that handed out the death sentence. There's a period of time, there's a 20-year period in the late 18th century where the Great Sessions were held in Cowbridge as opposed to Cardiff.
Oh.
It's much easier to find middle-class jurymen in Cowbridge, probably. Yeah. So there's a 20-year period from the late 1760s to the late 1780s where the Great Sessions are held there. So it's okay, well, maybe it was the Great Sessions as opposed to magistrates. That would make sense then because they could hand out the death sentence. So that gives us a narrowed time period that we could potentially look at. So in 1787, there's a fella named Evan Francis. So there could be a slippage from Ianto Franks to Evan Francis.
Okay.
When either they've anglicized the name or the legend has Welshified the name.
Yeah, because Franks is...
Welshified.
But Ianto as well, so it's...
Yeah, So there's a possibility.
Yeah, there's room. Yeah, there's room there.
And he was arrested and convicted for highway robbery near Cowbridge at Llanblethian.
Okay.
Am I saying that right?
Llanblethian?
Yeah, Llanblethian.
Yeah.
So very, very near.
Yeah.
And so he was tried in Cowbridge for this crime. And he was sentenced to death. But he wasn't executed. He didn't receive a full pardon, but that was commuted to transportation. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to find any records of him in the transportation records. That would have been around the time of the first fleet sailing to Australia. And no idea. There's no record of him being on.
As you said in the previous episode, where they would send convicts out to Australia.
Yeah,
and £10 pom type thing, but
to make 19 crimes. And
and then they make 19 crimes,
ship them over.
And then St Hilary's is like, no, this is how it's done. Right. So there's no evidence of what actually happens to him, but he's not executed on Stalling Down, but he was sentenced to death. Now, there's another thing that I think makes this a little bit more compelling in terms of a good story but fake, is the fact that this is the time and the space of Iolo Morganwg. Do we know who he is?
I'll pretend I do, but for the sake of those who don't.
Morganwg.
Yeah, Iolo Morganwg. So real name Edward Williams. Iolo Morganwg is a really, really interesting character. He's the guy that invented the modern Gorsedd, he basically invented the Eisteddfod. So he's
effectively Mr. Earth.
He is. Yeah, he's Mr. Earth. He is, exactly. He's like a little cone.
Triangle.
If you look at him, if you look at old like paintings of him, he's shaped like a candy corn, but the colours of the Welsh flag. Yeah, exactly, Mr. Earth. So Iolo Morganwg, really interesting character. He was a stonemason, but he was also, and he's like huge champion of Welsh culture, slavery abolitionist guy, really, really interesting. Also a literary forger. So a lot of the stuff that he claimed to have discovered or translated, including things about like Druidic traditions, he made up, possibly because he had a laudanum habit.
Oh Lord,
a what?
Drug, isn't it?
So a drug, like a mildly hallucinogenic drug.
Oh.
He was a massive champion of Welsh culture, but he also invented a lot of things too. So there's a lot of like fact and fiction mixed in there. And the first Gorsedd, which is like the Druidic circle that's now part of the Eisteddfod, like the celebration of like Bardic culture, was actually the first one in Wales, was held at Stalling Down in like 1792. So this is a guy who loves telling a story and is very good at telling a story and making people believe these stories as well, because the fact that a lot of the things he forged came to light later in his life.
Okay.
Maybe even after. I'm not an expert on Iolo Morganwg, but he's a fascinating character. And Morganwg, Glamorgan, like he's named him, he's given himself a bardic name based on Glamorgan. Rumor has it he was a regular at the Bush Inn. And he was like their local poet. Not pubs don't necessarily need poets, but it could be a thing.
Pub has a poet.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So for a period of time,
The old karaoke machine, isn't it?
it's like, have I got a story for you? So, legend has it that was one of his locals when he lived in the area. He lived in Cowbridge for a time. He actually ran a bookstore and general store in Cowbridge, and there's a plaque there about it. So he's a feature of the area of this time. He also went to jail for debt. And debtors and criminals were housed together at this period of time. He was in prison in Cardiff Jail in 1787. He would have been in prison at the same time in 1787 as Evan Francis, as he was waiting trial. So there's a very good chance, just based on the dates. I mean, they absolutely would have occupied the same jail, whether or not they conversed with each other or knew each other.
Right.
There's a good chance that Evan Francis and Iolo Morganwg crossed paths in Cardiff Jail. Evan Francis, after that trial, would not have gone back to the local area. He would have been shipped off to wherever he was going next. I mean, we don't know where that is. I haven't been able to find any records. So Iolo Morganwg could easily have come back and turned this into this elaborate story of Ianto Frank's, because there is this cave called Ianto Frank's Cave.
Yeah. So the story's been told, isn't it? And
it's on Ordnance Survey maps from the 19th century. If you look at earlier maps, I've not seen mention of that. Of course, Ordnance Survey maps are really close and detailed, but there doesn't seem to be any mention of this until like after Iolo Morganwg's time. So my hypothesis, which I don't think could be tested in any way, but my theory is, the academic historian in me who wants to look for like evidence, because all stories have an origin story, right? Yeah. So I think Ianto Frank's is actually Evan Francis, and Iolo Morganwg got his hands on the story and just made it way more interesting.
Yeah.
So that's my theory and my story of St Hilary's.
I love that the Bush Inn is at the centre of all that as well, and it's like, it's a beautiful thatched little pub. You could go down and have a Sunday lunch now. And the history in that building. And I mean, how old is that building?
Oh, it's medieval. Like it goes back probably It'll be pre-Tudor. I mean, the church, I think, is 11th or 12th century. And I mean, if there's a church,
They're
there's a
right
pub.
next to it, aren't they?
Yeah. And it would have been, like, now it's quite a long building. You can tell there's different rooms and
It's a Norman
extensions of
church,
it.
isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's beautiful as well. I mean, the church is lovely, the pub's lovely, and there's a lovely vineyard.
I need to go. I'm going to message Liz.
Yeah.
I'm going to see, can I just come by myself?
Excellent
please?
segue, Jamie.
Yeah.
Excellent segue.
Thanks, yeah. Not that I'm, wine is always on my mind, but yeah. No, that was
Wine is
fantastic.
always
That's such a
on
cool
my
story.
That's fun, isn't it? And then,
I
like,
enjoyed that. Shall I take us back to Liz? She told us her story. The first thing I asked her really was, why on earth have you done this?
As you do.
As I do.
With every single vineyard owner, like, why and how? Because I know you secretly want to have your own vineyard.
How much money do I need? And can I have your vineyard? No, and her and Pete both have really interesting backstories. And surprise, surprise, not in wine.
Should we cut to Liz?
Let's cut to Liz.
We moved to the house we live in now in 2013 because we wanted somewhere which our dogs could run free and not chase everything that they saw. So when we bought the house, it had 6 acres of land, which was a bit more than we planned. And our neighbours, who were all retired farmers, decided that they wanted to know what we were doing with the land. And this became a recurring question, what are you doing with the land? And we realised that when a farmer asks you that, what they actually mean is, can I put my sheep on your land? And we thought, naughty dogs who chase everything, including sheep. It's not a good way to be settling into a village. So we kind of batted them off a few times. And then friends of ours had just taken over the Penacloud vineyard near Raglan. And we thought, vineyards. And we looked and it was south-facing, sloping. I thought, okay. So the next time we were asked, I said, we're going to plant a vineyard in a lofty style, as I knew what I was talking about. And somewhere along the line, my late mother found out about this vineyard that we were going to plant. And then it became quite a recurrent theme. When are you going to plant the vineyard? Oh, haven't you started yet?
Where's the bottles of wine?
Yes, where's my wine? Yes. And eventually we got to 2018 and it was Pete's birthday. And I paid for the agronomist to come and do the survey to see whether we could plant a vineyard. And he said yes, but they all say that because they're looking for business. And but he said a little bit of work, and in 2019, the field that is now the vineyard was ploughed up in anticipation of planting in 2020. However, weather and then COVID intervened, and we had a little bit of a delay. But 2021, we planted the first 2,000 of our 3,000 vines. When I say we planted, we had the marvellous German planters came over.
Oh, really?
And in the space of, this is one of my kind of sad points about the vineyard, we were childminding one of our oldest granddaughter, and we met the planters at 7 o'clock in the morning, agreed the start point for the vineyard and the orientation. Right. So the vineyard runs north-south, whereas our field is slightly off kilter. And we agreed, they'd start there, we'd run north-south. And we went off to pick up our granddaughter, only to the other side of Cardiff, got back an hour and a half later, and they'd planted 2,000 vines. We have no video evidence, we have nothing, we didn't see it at all. So, but that was the start of the planting.
That is absolutely insane. Just the fact that you plant a vineyard almost just to get rid of some farmers. Like, leave us alone, for God's sake. We want some space for the dogs.
Get rid of farmers, and then also to appease like parents who are like, I thought you were going to do that.
Yeah.
I love that. Like, no matter how old you get, if your parents are still around, you're still they're still on your case.
I'd said that to her as well, because I can imagine it happening every time. My mother, we chat about an issue, she'll bring it up every time I ever speak to her then from there on. And I can imagine that with Liz's mother, like, well, where's this vineyard then? Where's the wine? Where's the bottle of wine?
And you're like, for God's sake, right, fine.
Fine, I'll do it.
Pete! Get the Germans!
I love that idea with the Germans arriving as well, because she kind of said, there we are. Look, there's the land. This is what we're going to plant it. Blah, blah, blah. She went off for a few hours and comes back and there's a vineyard.
It's like cliche German efficiency.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
So did she explain like what they planted initially and how that went, apart from post Germans just kind of putting things down?
Yeah, she did, and she did tell us how she bought the rootstocks as well. Which
okay.
Rootstocks is a new one for me, but yeah.
All right, let's listen to that.
Yeah, let's go.
So in the first year of the planting, the 2021, they planted 1,000 Pinot Meunier and 1,000 Pinot Noir. And then Pete had still wanted to get Sauvignon Blanc, but we couldn't. And on Facebook Marketplace, I purchased 100 Chardonnay vines.
Facebook Marketplace.
Well, I think it was a little more legitimate than that. It was like a vine growers forum or something. Cool. So I purchased 100 Chardonnay, of which we planted. I think there's 88 in the vineyard, and there's various other ones in our neighbours' gardens and my brother's garden and things. The ones that were left over. So we planted those, and then we still wanted to plant Sauvignon Blanc, which was the original idea, to fill up the rest of the final block. But we still couldn't get any. And then Pete had a bit of a mad idea that we'd plant some Solaris and some, Madeleine Auvergne and all different ones. But then it was pointed out to us that really you're better to have bigger blocks so you can make varietal wines.
Right.
So, and that's what, and this year actually we're hoping that we might be able to produce a Chardonnay. And also Pete, now having decided he likes his Chardonnay, he doesn't like it to drink, but he likes his vines.
Right.
He would really, really like to, in the future, to make a Blanc de Blanc.
Right.
So, which obviously is Chardonnay, sparkling Chardonnay. And the reason that he's been prevented from doing it so far, apart from the Japanese grapes, is the fact that it has 5 years on the lees.
Oh, right.
So it's a real slow burner.
Oh, wow.
So we'll just see what happens this year and whether he might be allowed a small amount of Blanc de Blanc, a few hundred bottles, depending on what the weather gods throw at us and what we harvest.
You'll have heard there that Liz talking through the various grapes they have, and she listed them all. For us as amateurs, when we were down on the vineyard, it was really cool to see because they're all kind of lines, aren't they? Like
they're all lines and they're all different.
rows.
Like they look like, I don't know, a grape's a grape.
Yeah.
Right? But they're not. That's not the case.
No.
Like, they do look different, but they're all, the way they're organized is really satisfying.
Yeah,
to look at.
it
Really
is. Yeah,
satisfying.
it is. For someone with like a brain that you want everything to fit nicely, on the end of each row there's a little tag and it says which grape it is.
Oh, nice.
And she was showing us that some of them, they grow differently, the different grapes, as in the whole vine goes differently. So some of them go straight up in the air, and some of them go sort of off to the side, and some of them, it was just, and they
some of them
different.
need a Geneva curtain,
Yeah.
Geneva double curtain. Sorry, I've already been corrected there.
Yes, go back and listen to a previous episode about the Geneva double curtain.
Oh, that's exciting! But it's all the classic, champagne varietals that they've planted there. I love the fact that she got some Chardonnay from Facebook Marketplace.
Yeah, I know. I did laugh my head off when she said that, but then said, actually it is reputable. It's
and a Blanc de Blanc. If Pete gets to make a Blanc de Blanc, so in the last sparkling wine episodes that we recorded, we tried to coin the term Gwyn or the for Blanc de Noir. So if anyone is listening and wants to coin some sort of a Welsh term for a Blanc de Blanc version in Wales, then I think we should call it Gwyn or Wyn.
It's like, Pete, we're all behind you on this. We want you to have that.
Pete, Liz, let him have just some of the grapes. But 5 years on the lees, that's such a long time. And I mean, that's longer than the minimum requirements for champagne.
Yeah, that is. Yeah, actually, when you put it that way, that is surprisingly long, isn't it?
Like non-vintage champagne, they have to be aged for a minimum of 15 months, right? With at least 12 on the lees, and then vintage champagnes. So we talked about this before. So non-vintage is from different harvests, from different years, and then vintage is from a single harvest. The vintage champagnes have to be aged for a minimum of 3 years, but traditionally, most champagne houses will just double that. Because they're like, okay, so this is the minimum requirement. I don't know why I'm doing a French accent. I'm going to get cancelled. Shall I start that sentence again without the French accent?
No, I enjoyed it. I'm here for it.
Also, I can get cancelled.
Yeah, Madame Sarah.
I don't think you get cancelled for putting on a French accent.
Anne and I have talked about this. And
I just can't do accents.
There are a number of wine experts out there. If you get cancelled, we'll just get another one.
We'll just get another one. My point is, with champagne, minimum requirements for aging and things, and so they want to make a Blanc de Blanc and age on the lees for minimum 5 years. That's quite good going,
Yeah.
And so it would be really interesting if they managed to make it. But I could also really understand 5 years waiting for your wine to come out.
Well, that's the thing. One of the things I was talking to her about was that there's a lot of planning that goes on, isn't it? You don't just kind of make a bottle of wine tomorrow and it's the job done. You have to really think quite far ahead.
So from the 2023 harvest, which was a nice big harvest, was great. I'd like to say it was a shame we had a big harvest the first year, but if we'd have had last year's harvest the first year, we'd have been very despondent. So at least we had the good harvest. So in 2023, we picked nearly 2.5 tons of grapes, and we made. It ended up 800 bottles of a Pinot Noir Pinot Meunier rosé, which is what we've been drinking, and then 800 bottles of a sparkling wine, which has a small amount of Chardonnay in it, Pinot Noir and Pinot Meunier. And it's currently on the lees and will be disgorged around December, which will be 12 months on the lees.
Right, okay.
So traditional method,
they're
sparkling
bottled.
white. They're bottled under Crown Cap at the moment.
Oh, right, okay.
So they were bottled in November last year.
Right, okay.
So yeah, they'll have 12 months. So under Crown Cap, and then the disgorging when the little bit of the dead yeast is removed,
Right.
and the traditional mushroom
cork
cork
and the
and the
cage,
cage.
yeah.
Yeah, that'll be it'll be done. It'll be completed at the end of this year, and then we'll give it a chance to rest in its bottle. So the idea is to launch that on St David's Day next year.
Oh, fantastic.
So that'll be our
fingers
first
and toes
sparkling
crossed.
wine.
Yeah.
And then last year, very small harvest,
Yeah.
400 kilos eventually. We've got about 300 bottles of a sparkling rosé,
Right.
but that's not going to be with us until the back end of 2027.
Right.
So unfortunately, the sparkling wine is a much slower process
I suppose
for
you're
traditional
always
method.
thinking ahead, aren't you? That's basically the game, isn't it?
So we're hoping this year it's looking a bit better, but obviously, as they say, you never know what you're going to harvest
Yeah.
until the day you harvest it.
Yeah.
But our plan, all things being equal, is that we'll have some Chardonnay, probably still, but Pete might be allowed a little bit to go into a Blanc de Blanc, small
Yeah.
limited edition.
Yeah.
But we'll be aiming then to see what else we can do, whether we make a Pinot Noir Pinot Meunier rosé, which we probably will, but see what else we do. It's unlikely that our Pinot Noir will go far enough to make to be red this year. So because we don't have Pinot Noir Précoce, we have Pinot Noir traditional.
Right.
So it's much slower in coming to ripeness. So it's whether you actually get far enough with sugar developments
Right.
before the weather turns and you have to harvest. So
Yeah.
It's so funny, isn't it, how the weather every year can just completely change the vintage and the amount of grapes that you grow. And 2023, I'm glad they had a good. I'm glad they had a good crop, and they managed to make the incredible rosé wine that we're gonna start drinking soon. Please, I hope. Because actually, on record, that was one of the highest harvest amounts in all of Britain.
All right.
But Wales in general didn't do well. I know a lot of the Welsh vineyards struggled in 23 and didn't produce a huge amount of bottles. 22, on the other hand, right? If you're just, this is a little tip for you. If you see a 22 bottle of Welsh wine, it's going to be a good one because we had such a good. Do you remember that
it was
year?
awesome. I won't
it was
forget
boiling.
It
Was
was.
that?
So, just going to mention a different vineyard for a minute, but was that the year? Was that the Dell? The one with Clader.
I think it was.
Is that the year that they stole all the badgers and blackbirds stole all the?
Yeah.
But that was also
The shaded was.
But that was also the vintage, or that was also the year that they won gold.
Yes.
As well.
Yes.
So,
It was.
I'm
I
pretty
remember
sure,
it well
yeah.
because I moved into my new house that year and spent a lot of time that summer in the garden sunbathing, and it was stunning.
I'm currently scrolling through my phone looking at photos to remind myself.
Are you trying to? Because we went to Green Man with Lena.
That's right, and I covered the shop.
22. Yes,
That's right. Okay,
you looked after the shop for me.
Oh, I went to Naples. That's what I was doing. Which that's the reason I'm looking. It seems like I'm being really rude right now because I'm scrolling through my phone, but I had to look at photos just
I
remind
thought,
us.
if I'm honest, that Sarah had just bored you into submission then, and
Thanks.
No,
Cheers.
I did a lot of cat sitting that year, by the looks of it. Too.
And obviously 2024 was terrible for absolutely everyone, and I mean across Europe as well, not just Wales. Huge reduction in crop and just not very many bottles coming out of Wales or anywhere for that matter. So it's really exciting now that I know it's a really hot day, and I'm like,
once again, here we are.
again.
Yeah.
But it's great to see. Have you seen the Welsh vineyards on socials? They're all reporting veraison, the colour change when the grapes start to ripen properly, and it's marked by the change in colour.
Veraison is when the grapes go from that green, that sort of bright green colour to they start to turn black, I suppose, or
they start to turn into the colour that they're supposed to be. Which marks the stage that they actually start to ripen properly.
This is the thing, Sarah, right? Since we started this podcast,
Yeah.
I've started following all these vineyards, not
obviously.
just Welsh ones, but lots of vineyards.
Okay.
So now my Instagram feed is entirely Veraison. Every vineyard celebrating the change of colour of the grape. And I was at a wedding yesterday, which is why I might sound a bit rough today.
Okay.
I was at a wedding. I literally was boring this person, saying, "Well, I've seen the Veraison on the grapes now. All the vineyards are reporting, and it's happening in Wales. It happened in Kent about a month ago, and now, and this person is glazed over, looking at me, and I'm thinking, oh God, what has this podcast done to me? What have I become?
Did they ask?
No, no one asked.
All I'm thinking about right now is just the fact that I'm growing these big beefy tomatoes in my garden, or tomatoes.
Tomatoes.
I
Fine.
struggle
Say
with that
how
as
you
a
say
pasta fruit in the garden, and they're starting to go red, which is really exciting for me because I usually lose. I'm fine with cherry tomatoes, but I usually lose them all to blight.
Oh, right.
But I've been I've had
by
some.
the time they've ripened, they've been eaten, basically.
Yeah, the fungus sets in.
Yeah.
But I've had some strategies this year, and my big beefy tomatoes are starting to turn red. So I can only for me, who's not. I mean, I probably have 12 tomato, one plant, 12 tomatoes out there, and I'm excited. So I can only imagine what the vineyard owners will think. It's like, what is it called?
Veraison.
Yeah, I can only imagine what vineyard owners are thinking when it's like Veraison.
Yeah. It's nice to see, and it's good. I mean, it seems like we started this podcast, and I think it's because of the podcast. We've had a great summer ripening all the
Oh yeah, definitely. That's the only.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I was like, for a second there, I
Where's
thought
it
you were
going
going to
with
take
this?
credit. And I was like, oh no, you are actually taking credit. You're doing exactly what I thought you were going to do.
No, in all seriousness, we are loving supporting the vineyards, and we did promise at the beginning that we would get into the stories behind the people. And Liz has more than delivered. We had a fabulous day down there.
She slid into my DMs.
Did you?
Yeah.
Excellent.
We were talking about a wine shop in Cardigan.
Love it.
Uncamunca?
Uncamunca.
Yeah.
Didn't you do a tasting with them
Yeah,
recently?
so he did it. I was at a hen do in Pembrokeshire, and he came over because he's based in Abertavy, and came in and did the tasting with this group of, I think it was 24 of us.
Oh gosh.
I'm the only one who's a Welsh learner. Everyone else is first language Welsh.
Yeah.
And he came in, and it's this room full of women who are already dolled up to go on a night out afterwards, and you could just tell he did a great job, but he's like, I am out of my depth.
Just taking a deep breath.
I'm out of my, and so the first thing he did was apologize for not being a Welsh speaker, because I can't remember where in England he's from, and so that was the conversation that Liz and I were having with another person who was on the tour that day. I'm like, it's like Birmingham or Liverpool or something up that way. So she was going to pop in and ask him, but by the time she got there, the shop was closed. So she just sent me a picture of Uncamunca. And the close sign or something like that. I'm like, ooh, report back. But yeah, Liz slid into my DMs.
We love it.
Excellent.
And we're really grateful to them. We had a good day. And as I was saying earlier, Liz did a tour, a couple of hours. She went through everything in detail. And I'm like, so can you just tell me all that again and I'll record it? She knocked it out again. So yeah. And she mentions why they took this on. And it was really inspiring, actually, when she talked about why they love doing it.
I love the fact that we're working outside all the time. We both really enjoy that, so that's really good. We work together, although we do have our own jobs. So Pete is Mr. Tractor. I don't go anywhere near the tractor. On the video, no, we're not still working. We both retired from our original jobs, but we have our own things we do in the vineyard, which means we have some things that we actually do together because we feel it's better two eyes looking at something. And actually, it's really nice. We work quite closely with other vineyards in the area. So there's 12 vineyards in the Vale of Glamorgan.
Wow.
Some people would have heard of Llanwrtach, Glyndŵr. There's people like us and Ty Gaffer, Children Tannin coming on. Our really good friend Fran from Great House Vineyard in Cowbridge, whose sparkling wine you've also tasted today. Very nice Savoy Blanc sparkling. And there's just like a little community of us, and we do work together.
Yeah. And you're all quite close to each other, aren't you? Really?
There's the Vale of Glamorgan isn't that big, and we're all in the western end of the Vale, really. We're working on a kind of vineyard trail project for the vineyards to actually work a way we can work together with Vale Tourism, and
we could put a little shuttle bus on.
Well, we're looking at all that's the sort of things.
Fantastic.
So
my suggestion, I'm going to put it out there now, is if there is going to be any kind of a wine tour of the Vale of Glamorgan and there's a bus, pick them up from Vin Van Cymru. I will provide a breakfast fizz, and maybe we'll get a nice little pastry. Maybe it will even have like a local Welsh cheese, so like almost like French style, like like crepe croissant type thing.
Yeah.
A little bit of fizz, and then I usher you onto the bus. You have a lovely time. I can even do bye now. Oh my god, my cheeks are hurting.
Jamie and I there with our like little lunch boxes and like backpacks on. It's like, have a good day, and we get on the bus.
And then they can be dropped back off at the shop. And if they want to buy any of the wines, or if they want to just hang out and have another couple of drinks, then they can do that at Vin Van Cymru. Please make this happen, guys.
So as you know, I'm a little bit obsessed with what people did pre-vineyard, and whether their previous jobs, previous lives were relevant. So I obviously asked Liz, what did you do before?
Well, by training, I'm a chemical engineer.
Are you?
Yeah, but I worked in the gas industry. I worked kind of supervising teams digging holes. I worked on pipelines, but I ended up working in commercial contracts. Pete is a pharmacist, community pharmacist, and had a chain of pharmacies in the northwest. So this chemical engineering and this pharmacy, there is something related there to do with turning lovely grapes into something even more lovely. But there's probably something. It probably helps, and having done a lot of project management and things, that sort of helps with managing the paperwork, which I have to say, nobody tells you about all the things to do with HMRC and customs and duty, and there's quite a lot involved there, and you just got to keep on top of it.
So as you can tell, we had a brilliant chat while we were down there. We learned loads from Liz. Yeah, it was so good. We got into the ins and outs of the support she gets from the Welsh Government. So, the industry is supported by the Welsh Government, which, was really interesting. And there's lots of support available. Where I wanted to end it with Liz was, we talked about the future. And I'm always interested to know what vineyard owners think about the future of the Welsh wine industry. So I'll leave it to Liz.
I think so. There'll be some people will kind of take a punt and it won't work. There'll be other people who'll start off tiny and all of a sudden they'll just have found such a niche, because there's such a variety of people doing different things. You look at Hebron and what Paul's doing down there. It's completely different to anybody else, but it's such a amazing product, and it's such a niche product. But he's kind of catching the eye of people all over the world almost. And you look at Vineyard Rocks up in Monmouthshire. They're not Monmouthshire, they're just above there. And they're at the Tate organic or natural wines pour event. They're at the bar at the Tate. They're doing an event there. So we're really punching above. I think Welsh vineyards are really punching above their weight, and I think it's good. And it's nice to be part of a kind of a growing and enthusiastic business.
She's got such an amazing, realistic view of the future of Wales, hasn't she? She's so grounded, and she's really plugged in as well. She knows what she's talking about. I think that's really interesting, mentioning that some people may try and they may fail, because just, that is the nature of just running a business. And I think it's really clever as well that they are introducing these other, revenues, just sources of income for the business. They've got their apple juice.
Yeah, there was an orchard there. Fabulous orchard.
And they've got an Airbnb as well. So they've got there's a few different things that you can do, and you can visit the vineyard and try the wines and support them in that way. But then you can also go and stay. You can buy the apple juice. They're very switched on people, and I'm really excited to see what they're going to do in the future.
We've got a bottle of the St Hilary's rosé, which Ange and I tried while we were down there.
Did we?
And I always think when you try the wine where it's made, there's something special about it, isn't there? So
absolutely. Yeah, definitely.
We really enjoyed it. But Sarah, can you tell us a bit about the wine from the expert point of view?
Well, from the expert point of view, there's not much I can tell you apart from the fact that it's made with 50% Pinot Noir and 50% Pinot Meunier. The ABV is 10%, which, it's reasonably low, which is quite nice for a really hot day like today. I absolutely hate drinking wine that is high in ABV on a warm day. It's got a really lovely fruity nose, spiced cherry, raspberry, red plum. It's got quite a nice texture and tangy acidity to it. Yeah, because didn't you mention that you picked up on a little bit of sweetness in the wine when you tasted it?
So to my palate, and of course it's an uneducated palate, to me it's sweeter than, or I'm picking up a sweetness that, I mean, and I really, really like it. So I'm surprised that it's, because I like a white or rosé that's like really, really dry.
Uber dry, yeah.
I just like, it's crisp and refreshing and dry. And this to me is quite juicy and sweet, but it's still really, really nice. So I was, just asking about like, would this be classed as a sweeter wine, or how would one describe a wine like this, where it's really, really juicy, but it's not sweet like a dessert wine is sweet. And I think that's why I like it, because what you get like dessert wines or ice wines or those sorts of things where it's just like, ooh, it's medicinal and cough syrupy. That's not this.
No, absolutely
at all.
not.
This is just really juicy.
Yeah, when you've got that softness, like the softness in the fruit, it can almost trick your brain to think into thinking that it's a sweeter wine than it is. But yeah, I just think this is a really nice, refreshing, intriguing, slightly spicy, tangy, fruity. It's something that I've not tried before. It's got bags of character, I'll tell you that.
I did. And it is really refreshing.
So I'd say, to me, this is very, very fruity. I get strawberries. I get it's very summery. And I might be saying that because we're in the middle of a heat wave.
No, it is. It's got that like strawberries taste of summer, and it has a strawberry vibe to it for sure.
Definitely,
I'd agree with that.
Yeah. And we went all out this time, and we are pairing it with cheese. And not just are we pairing it with cheese. We've got a cheese expert along with a wine expert, and we've paired it together. So we spoke to the lovely Owen at Ty Caws in Cardiff, and I'll let him explain the cheeses that he's picked.
Hello, this is Owen from Ty Caws in Cardiff. We're an independent cheese shop and cheese bar in Cardiff city centre at the Castle Arcade. And today we've selected 2 cheeses to go with the Welsh rosé wine. The first cheese being Bryn, which is a soft sheep's milk cheese made by Carrie Rhymes up in North Wales. Carrie makes this cheese in the foothills of Snowdonia and uses local ewe's milk from the Llŷn Peninsula, and uses a traditional thistle rennet, Cardoon rennet, which is quite very commonly used in sheep's milk cheeses in places like Sardinia. So the cheese is very soft, very herbaceous, very creamy, and as the cheese ages, it becomes more intense in flavour. The second cheese is a new goat's milk cheese called St Hilary, or Bryn. This cheese was actually made near Henley-on-Thames by Rachel and Fraser, but they've moved the dairy, they've moved the goats to Llandilo, and they now make in Llandilo on their farm. So this exciting new goat cheese for us in Wales. It's a creamy goat cheese, quite crumbly in the core, but as it gets to the rind, it develops this lovely kind of creaminess underneath the rind. Based on a French-style goat cheese, quite citrusy, quite fresh, quite herbaceous as well. But we thought these 2 would pair really well with that the lovely Welsh rosé wine.
And he's absolutely nailed it.
Absolutely delicious.
It goes really, really well. Do you know what? The Bryn in particular.
It's full on, isn't it?
It's one of my favourites.
I was a bit skeptical when I heard ewe's milk cheese, because I've met some that it's like, how is anybody eating this? Because it just, to me, it's like pure ammonia.
Okay.
It's just kind of just rank, or it's like, this isn't food. Like, are we, like, what is going on here? So when I saw ewe's milk on the label, I'm like, well, in the name of the podcast, take one for the team. It's so good. It's so good. And like the back end taste is like where it really, like it really comes through. Oh, it's so good.
And the hardest thing about this difficult job that we have is that I have to talk and I can't eat and talk at the same time. Well, not on a podcast anyway. So I'm looking at that bloody delicious cheese.
Yeah. Well, because what's not captured here is the moment before we hit record, where it's like, all right, make sure our mouths right. Swallow what you're eating, and then make sure your mouth no longer sounds like there's cheese in it. And it's something that you never really think about until you eat cheese on a podcast. And it's like, oh no, I've got that. Nobody wants
Clacky
to hear these.
Mouth,
nobody needs to hear my mouth sounds.
Wacky mouth.
Oh, God, really, really delicious
mouth sounds.
goat's cheese and a really, really delicious sheep cheese.
And I'm really glad Owen gave you the recommendation as well. Like he's so sound. I've actually did you know that I used to work near him when I first launched the business? I was trading out of a container in the pandemic, and he was like 2 containers down from me, and that's how I met him.
This was before we were friends, and I used to do cheese runs and grab cheese from him.
The Bridge Studios, which is still there now. We've got Flowerhorn Brewery, and you've got Mr. Crockwitch. It's a really cool place to go if you feel like craft beer.
Past Canton, is it?
Yeah, so just up from Ely Bridge in Cardiff. It's hidden behind a car wash, so I do remember hosting wine tastings and people being dropped off by taxi, and the taxi drivers being like, I'm going to wait to see that you're in the right place, because I don't feel like this is a safe place for you. And I would be there with torches and stuff, like waving people in. But yeah, no.
Not at all dodgy.
Yeah, no, exactly. So Owen and I have worked together a few times over the past couple of years. So it's amazing to see what he's done with the business, going from, trading out of a container, and now he's got this incredible place in Cardiff city centre that's now opened up. You can get cheese boards and wines by the glass, and honestly, we should go. Actually, we should do an episode in his shop.
I popped in to buy this, and I was just thinking, I just want to stay here and eat cheese.
Because you have Ty Caws, but in order to get to Ty Caws, you have to walk into the arcade.
Yeah.
And at the top of the arcade, oh no, Nighthawks.
Yeah, I know. I know.
What are you supposed to do in that scenario?
I know. And I know Owen clearly supports Welsh wine as well, because he had quite a few in, or have had in, and we were talking about some of the ones that he loved that there are no more bottles. I think he pairs cheese with Welsh wine quite often.
Yeah, clearly, because he hit it out of the park with
he's good at what he does.
Yeah.
Well, he didn't. I told him it was the St Hilary's rosé, and he knew straight away. Yes, okay. And then had a couple of suggestions, and we've kept it Welsh. And they're both banging. And so thank you so much, Owen. And
yes,
we enjoyed that, along with the delicious wine. So
I'm loving this.
I think that's a wrap, guys. Very much enjoyed today. Hope we've learned a little bit about some powerhouses down in St Hilary's there who've created something really special.
Who do exist?
They do.
They do exist. There's no. I mean, they're legends.
Yeah.
But they're legends that actually exist.
That's right. Yes. Thank you for that. That's the academic. But yes, and the cheese is absolutely delicious, and we thank Owen for that too. So yeah, cracking wine, cracking cheese. But please do follow us on Instagram if you don't already. Follow St Hilary on Instagram too, and follow Ty Caws on Instagram too. And please tell your friends about the podcast, and subscribe, like us, rate us if you like us only.
Only if you like us.
Yeah, if you don't like us, just close it down and don't tell anyone. We're having a lot of fun with this, and hope you are enjoying listening. And
Iechyd da.
Iechyd da.